different video than our usual kind of weekly vlog. So we decided, since it's pretty much a year since we've been reselling, that we would do a little kind of reflection and recap of things that we've kind of learned in our first year of reselling. So this video is all going to be about our biggest mistakes that we have made.
Definitely.
And so just so you know, if you're new here, my name is Gemma.
My name is James.
And we run a reselling business called House of Jamz. So, and obviously we've been doing it for about a year now.
Yes. Yeah, so the first one we're talking about is I don't know what to call it, really.
I know, it's a bit of a business decision that we made when we first of all started thinking about reselling in the first place. So it's actually, I suppose, a membership, we would call it, that we decided.
I suppose we were looking for suppliers and stuff like that, so that was the first sort of thing that sort of gave us interest into investing into something like this. Yeah,
so this membership that we decided to join was, we are putting it as a mistake. I feel like this is a bit of a strange one, because it's not saying that it's bad. Well, I would just say that maybe one side, maybe when...
I mean, you have your opinion, I have mine.
I feel like maybe we weren't in the right sort of... we're not really explaining this very well, are we? So basically this membership had two parts to it, and I think that's where the confusion is.
Yeah.
So they had a learning part, which is where you learn about how to be a reseller. They've got, like, you know, lots of learning educational materials. That part I thought was amazing, and all the sort of support we got from them related to that was fantastic. The other sort of side that they had was actual suppliers, so access to actual, you know, places where you can buy stock from. So I'd probably say, it'd be fair to say that it was the supplier part.
Yeah,
that was the part.
Yeah, I just always really got the thought that it was just a load of boys in their bedroom trying to sell us stock.
Yeah. It didn't come across super, I would say, professional. It did have a website, but the amount, like the actual variation of stock and the choice that they had wasn't great.
Yeah.
And
I'm not gonna lie, if one more person would have called me bro, I think I would have blown my brains out.
Yeah, it's a very particular type of clientele, I'd say. And don't get me wrong, there are people on there that are part of that membership that are successful. You know, there are people that do well in that kind of, I suppose, niche. But I think we learned pretty quickly that area, that niche, just wasn't quite for us. And I mean, obviously, initially we started out as selling vintage. And they did have access to some vintage stuff, but it was mainly new things.
Yeah.
And I think that's just where we kind of definitely decided we wanted to go down the vintage route. So that was a bit of a mistake. As I said, I'm not saying that this membership is all bad. Obviously, we're not going to name them because that's not very fair. But I'd say that
I'll give them that benefit of the doubt.
the education side of it was fantastic. They had lots of webinars, they had lots of, like, you know, PDF stuff, they had Excel sheets that you could use, they had a lot of great learning materials. I almost feel like they were trying to do a bit too much. Maybe if they just focused...
They were trying to put their eggs all in one basket, and it just wasn't working.
Yeah, I feel like if they just focused on the education part, they'd be absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
But because the supplier...
I believe they have a shop themselves. And they were trying to sell you, like, supplies in the sense of, like, they were trying to sell you off their stock that they couldn't sell.
Yeah, that's the vibe we got. I mean, obviously we don't know that for definite.
We don't know that for definite, but you can...
It was definitely there.
Smell it. It was like, it was so obvious, really.
Yeah. So another couple of things that kind of put us off this membership was they really pushed for you to build your business around, like, through Instagram. So promoting on Instagram, trying to find customers and leads and things on Instagram. And I mean, I find that, to me, if I'm going to buy something, I'm not going to buy it through Instagram. And maybe that's just me, a personal thing. Maybe it's just because...
Yeah, I'm the same.
Like, I just feel like a legitimate website or selling through a legitimate platform is a better way to build trust. And obviously I do feel like there are people, again, on there that have maybe got contacts or maybe got clients that they know personally, and maybe that's how they've kind of built up their clients, and they're able to get sales through them and they recommend them to other people. But that it's almost like word of mouth, but through social media. So
I feel like it's a somewhat safer way of buying something out of the back of a car.
Yeah, obviously it's not saying that anything's fake or dodgy. It's
but
it's just, I kind of felt as well like there was a lot of people that were starting out, that were part of this community that we're talking about, and a lot of them got their Instagram accounts suspended and things. There was a lot of that happening. It happened to us, and
it's basically just people posting the same recycled content.
Yeah. Because that's one of the things that they did try to do, which I do get. They were trying to be helpful. They were giving people, images that could be used and things like that. But then it meant that everybody who was part of the membership was using them, and I think that's what led to a lot of people's Instagram accounts being suspended. And there's just a bit of me that doesn't feel very secure having my entire business based around my Instagram account. I just feel like that's not safe, that's not clever. Didn't feel very secure. So that was something else that kind of put us off a little bit, and we decided to go down our own path and get our own website and obviously sell through the likes of Vinted and Depop and eBay and stuff like that. We've found success with it, which has been great.
So next up, we have the beloved Etsy.
Yeah, so that's our next biggest mistake that we made, was selling.
I just want to point out, right, if you're going to let people sell on your platform, what in the heck do you feel it's right for you to take people's money to the point where they don't make profit on the products that they're selling?
Yeah.
Like, what was it? We sold 2 jackets.
Yeah.
And they took, I think the jackets were like, what, 30 quid each?
I can't even remember the exact
figures. I can't remember, but let's just say they were between 30 and 40 quid each. And we walked away with 30 quid in total. That's how much they took.
Yeah.
And I'm like...
No.
I mean, I like the premise and I like the platform, but when you talk about being, oh yeah, we're all for the independence and all that sort of stuff, and then you go and pull something corporate like that, you're not my friend.
No. So I think, obviously, just to be very clear, it's the fees, isn't it?
It is definitely the fees, yeah.
It's ridiculous. Like, obviously, I mean, if you've ever sold on Etsy before, there's a listing fee, there's fees if you sell something. I think that example that you were talking about, James, it was because I think both jackets had been promoted through Etsy, which I don't think we don't have control over.
So, don't get me wrong, they were international sales and it was nice to sell it to an international market. But if you're not going to make any money out of it,
there's no point.
Not even going to break even. What is the actual point?
So it kind of worked out that once we'd sold both jackets and they'd taken all their fees off, so that's all the different processing fees, listing, whatever it was, as well as the promotion fees, that's when it came out, it was like we'd only sold 1 jacket. That is how much fees they took off. And at that point, we decided to, I think our shop's on holiday mode at the moment because I haven't actually properly closed it yet, but it's, Yeah,
it's a bit like the British tax system. It sucks.
It's a bit. It was such a shame because that's the thing about Etsy is I feel like there's a lot of our items that are they're vintage, but they're also kind of handmade or whatever. Like it was tie-dye jackets and things that we were selling, so they're perfect for that platform. That's probably the best platform to sell them on. Yeah. But we can't because there's just no money in it, and like we can't risk that happening again. Because you're right, it's just like, what's the point in even like selling them? Like if you're not going to make anything.
So Etsy, sorry, you're a no.
No,
that was no.
That was a big mistake from our first year. So the next mistake that we made in our first year of selling was going for vintage sportswear. So that was actually the first sort of types of items of clothing that we went for with our store. So we went and bought a couple of bundles, and don't get me wrong, the bundles we got, like sort of like bundles of things like Nike, Adidas and things like hoodies, Champion, sort of sweatshirts, t-shirts and everything. Don't get me wrong, it was nothing wrong with the quality of the items.
It's actually really good stuff. Yeah, in fact, back in those days, we used to make it with better quality, like the stitching was better and everything.
So this is not like obviously kind of, not being happy with who we got it off of or anything like that. It's just that type of product, those types of items, one, it's very saturated.
There's so much of it in the market.
There's so many people selling it, so you've got a big lot of competition. And the second thing is that for you to actually make sales, you're not really making as big a profit margin, as what we were hoping.
Maybe
a few £4
to £6, I would
per
say.
item sometimes. Yeah, depending on what it is.
Yeah.
Obviously, the more unique pieces that we had, we did have a few good unique pieces that we were able to sell for like maybe double, triple our money.
Yeah.
But a majority.
I mean, it would be good if you were able to sell, I suppose, one after the other.
Yeah, like volume. Yeah.
But when you've got, like, I don't know, say 50 pieces and it takes you, I don't know, 6 months to move it, it's really not that.
No. And I think what we're left with now is all the kind of boring pieces, like the navy blue plain hoodies that have not really got much going for them. So,
do you know, my theory as well, like, you've got a lot of the wholesalers out there and they're like, oh yeah, you can sell this, and you can sell it really quickly and all this sort of stuff. I feel like they want to get rid of it.
Yeah. So picking up on what you just said, James, about that sometimes you get the impression from the wholesalers that they're also trying to get rid of certain things.
Yeah.
If you do go ahead and buy a vintage bundle, don't get me wrong, there are some great pieces and there will be some great gems in there. However, they also obviously throw in the stuff that they want rid of, which that's the risk that you take buying a bundle, not seeing it. And obviously you do get the pieces really cheap doing it that way, and that's kind of that's what offsets it.
I will say the last bundle that we bought, vintage wholesale, we were shown every piece, which helps.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of good pieces, and we did sell it pretty quickly.
Yeah, was that the second bundle we got?
Yeah.
I mean,
there was Stone Island in there. There was
CP Company,
and
you good bits like.
I mean, considering like the Stone Island and the CP Company piece, we had those two pieces. We made back our money on the.
Oh, more than.
We made more than our money back on those two pieces.
Yeah.
So
what I would definitely say is if you're going down the vintage clothing route, is if possible go and hand pick the items.
100%.
Or if you're able to see the bundle, if they're able to kind of flick through it over video or whatever before buying it, just so that you're
video
happy.
hand picking or in-person hand picking, if you can find out if your supplier can supply things like Stone Island, CP Company, big brands like that.
Yeah.
They're technically sports designer brands, but they sell really well. And if you can get a hold of them,
they're money makers. Yeah, definitely.
They are big money makers.
Yeah. So the next mistake that we made in our first year of reselling was selling things that were, would say, I suppose, too wacky, maybe too unique or too niche. So I know you're James, you're looking at me. I still think the pieces that the things that we're talking about specifically is our tie-dye vintage jackets.
Let me say one thing about these tie-dye jackets, right?
I
love them.
I know, so did
they were great because they weren't a typical tie-dye jacket.
Yeah.
The hippie tie-dye looks
all
like
the different
you just
colours.
been on an acid trip sort of thing. These were pretty good. And I think certain people did appreciate them because they bought them.
Yeah.
But
I feel like, again, partly maybe because we couldn't sell them in the right place, maybe. But I think sometimes things are just a little bit too unique. People maybe find it tricky to imagine them wearing it, and so they just don't buy.
Yeah.
So I think definitely sticking to things that are a bit more staple colours, like, black, brown, neutrals, navy blue, things, and then obviously things that are quite in demand and popular mainly is probably where we're going to go from now. Not boring, I wouldn't say boring.
No,
but
far from it.
Yeah, but maybe have a good think before we go ahead and buy something that's a little bit more unique or, as I say, wacky or whatever. So that was a bit of a mistake. So the next biggest mistake that we made in our first year of reselling was taking on pieces or buying pieces that had flaws in them with the hope of fixing the flaws before we then resell them.
I think it's important that everyone should know this, and you do it because you fall in love with the product before you even buy it, and then there's a part of you that maybe doesn't want to sell it, you want to keep it for yourself, but maybe the thought process when you go in is like, oh, I'm going to sell this, I'll be able to get that out. That's a little stain, it's fine. Or I'll be able to fix that. So I think a lot of that comes into play. You need to, when you're in this business, I think you need to really get that out of your head.
Be quite ruthless. Actually, and because I think a couple of examples was we had like a really nice Reebok windbreaker, white with light blue on it, and it had a few marks around the cuff with it being on white. It was really noticeable. Managed to get some of it out, but couldn't get all of it out. So we ended up selling it on, obviously putting it in the listing with the marks and things, and it sold no problem. We didn't really make much money on it, maybe a couple of pound, but there's definitely been pieces that we have bought that have had either marks on them or maybe a little bit of stitching coming out. The stitching I'm not so bothered about. I feel like if you know how to sew, then you can easily fix that. So I've fixed a couple of things and you would never know. It stains. If anything's got
bleach as well.
Yeah, like, bleach, paint.
Sometimes you don't see bleach and it's like you
stains,
just think it's a stain.
Marks, scuffs, just things like that are just you just can't get out.
Yeah.
But if you do get pieces like that, like if you do buy a wholesale bundle and there are pieces with marks on it, you can definitely still sell them.
Yeah. Yeah. You can just mention that there's that imperfection. We sold a sweatshirt, a grey sweatshirt, and it had an actual bleach on the arm.
But it was really light. And it's someone
bought it, you know what I mean?
It's a really cool sweatshirt.
I mean, you've also got the side of fashion where, and I would say it's probably more in the Gen Z sort of era, where people are like to buy dirty shoes, for example. I remember when Converse and Nike and Adidas,
it's cool for them to be worn,
made the worn shoe, and you know, you can still buy that.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same in music.
Yeah.
You can buy guitars that are beaten to hell and have cigarette stains on them.
Yeah, definitely. And like we actually sold a couple of workwear jackets, didn't we?
Yeah.
And funnily enough, I had 3 workwear jackets. The one that was perfect with nothing on it, no marks,
took forever to
sell.
The
and
one with all the damage on it.
There was 2 that had buttons missing, paint all over it, and obviously we listed it with all that in the listing, and they sold so quickly. So they're definitely, don't let imperfections and flaws put you off selling certain things. Just sell it as it is. Don't waste time trying to get marks out or anything like that, because it's not worth your time. So that kind of sums up, I suppose, all the biggest mistakes that we made in our first year of reselling, which we'll hopefully not make again.
Yeah, but that's the whole point. Like, you start a business, you make mistakes.
Yeah.
We will continue to make mistakes.
It's not
something. It's not something that is just going to go away. Some of the smartest people in the world, some of the most successful people in the world, have all made mistakes and continue to make mistakes.
But it's how you learn.
It's how you learn.
Yeah.
My dad taught me that.
Yeah. So if you found this video useful or interesting, make sure and subscribe and turn on the notification bell as well so you don't miss any future videos, and we'll see you in our next one. Bye!
Bye-bye.